Hey everybody, and welcome back to what I think is going to be a really fun show. We're going to be looking at are the Greys, alien Greys, taking over Pulsechain, and we're good to have Hayden in the house here. So one of the team from pTGC and UFO. I know many of you may have bought some of those assets on Pulsechain, given it's been probably leading the way on DAO projects and reflection tokens, tokenomics, which I think has been pretty impressive. They seem to have a pretty good track record, so we're going to deep dive into a lot of that stuff. So definitely get your questions in as you like, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a bit of a Q&A time as well. Got the website at the top there, so if you want to get into that, check that out. That is the website, pulsechain.thegrayscurrency.com. You can find out more, but of course we're going to get into a deep dive here. And once again, get into the chat there as well. If you're watching it after the live stream, leave your comments in the chat there as well after the video is done. So let's bring on Hayden without any further ado. So let's add Hayden in here. Hey, Hayden, good to see you. I think you got a mic check.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me on.
It's good to have you, and you guys have definitely been, I think, one of the better performing teams on Pulsechain, and certainly in the DAO reflection category. I guess that's where to put you. And just tell us a little bit about the experience of pTGC and UFO that you guys feel like how it's going on Pulsechain.
Yeah. I believe we were at least one of the first DAOs on Pulsechain. So that was kind of one of the first things we tried to tackle was, and our DAO is completely decentralized and automated, which obviously is very important. But that, in my opinion, isn't like really the main reason for the success of both UFO and pTGC. The main reason pTGC and UFO have been highly successful is when Pulsechain came out, I was kind of studying everything as just someone who's in Hex and in Pulsechain, and I was already wanting to build on Pulsechain, but then I started to realize stuff that a lot of other people weren't putting together, that there was a lot of ARB opportunity happening on Pulsechain in different liquidity pools, and I found this just due to watching tons of small transactions going on. When there'd be a big buy, there'd be small transaction going, and I'd follow those transactions and see they're just going to other LP pools, constantly arbing prices against each other. And ultimately, this was happening so much on Pulsechain, more than I've ever seen on any other blockchain. And one of the biggest reasons is because the fees are so cheap. So when you have cheap fees, now the RBot only needs a gap of 50 cents, 5 cents to make profit, because a swap is only costing a penny. And on other blockchains like Ethereum, maybe not so much right now, but on high gas days, it could be up to $50. So for an RBot to, make profit when gas, ARB opportunity has to be greater than $50. So from there on, I started thinking like, okay, this is a unique situation we have here on Pulsechain. Another unique part that a lot of other people didn't really realize is this is the first time in crypto history, I believe, that the founder of the blockchain actually has their own, what should I call it? Bitcoin. Let's say Hex is its own Bitcoin, just a smart contract built on a blockchain instead of Bitcoin is its own blockchain itself, but it has a lot of the same fundamentals to it, a better Bitcoin, as I would call it. And then we also have, obviously, the blockchain, which was it still is very cheap, under SAC rate by over 50%. We have the DEX token, PulseX, very cheap, not 80% cheaper than SAC rate. And then we also have an incentive token as well, which is pretty much the farming token. So, and this is all under one person. So really taking advantage of the whole, pretty much monopolizing a lot of the main categories on top of the blockchain. We're given this rare opportunity where we have a trusted founder and we can scrape all of these good tokens for cheap. So then what I realized then is we can pair to all these tokens and then also some other blue chips on Pulsechain as well. Like we found PDI very early, Atropa, Teddy Bear, Wrap Bitcoin. All these were at extremely discounted prices when we started building these LP pools.
Yeah.
And by creating a web with all of these tokens on top of these blockchain, and also utilizing the ARB bots that don't need a lot of ARB change in price to make money, we actually create a system where a reflection token or automatic buy and burn token, etc., can actually constantly have volume just from the market moving and not from human interaction. And if you take that money you're scraping from the market moving and bringing it to buy and burns and LP ads and reward systems to the holders of the project, it actually creates a scenario where price kind of continues to go up. Obviously, there's pumps and retracements and stuff like that, but the overall trajectory of the project will continue to go up and to the right over the long term, because with every transaction a bot does, we get to scrape a little bit from that, and then we bring it back to the underlying value of the project. And this happens with every single transaction. And what the aha moment is there isn't a lot of guarantees in crypto. Like, Hex is down 99% right now. Just markets, Bitcoin hit an all-time high. People weren't thinking it was going to come that early. So in crypto, the only thing that is guaranteed is markets move up and down. That's the only thing that's guaranteed to happen ever. Is projects are going to move up and down, tokens are going to move up and down, price is going to go up and down. So we found a way to monetize pretty much the up and downs of the whole entire market and bring that value back to singular tokens like UFO and pTGC. So what ultimately, we don't even need Pulsechain to go up in price. We don't need specific tokens to go up in price, as long as there's volume and volatility on the whole entire market and Pulsechain in general. It slowly trickles value back down to our ecosystem and continues to print the price up. That being said, obviously, if Pulsechain starts going up in price, that's going to highly work in our favor, since we have huge liquidity pools with all the RH tokens and Hart's Law is real. But in the meantime, what we can do is just constantly grab value from the market doing its thing and bring that value back to our ecosystem.
Oh, that sounds amazing, and that sounds like you're taking most advantage of the ARB opportunity pretty early. Your chart was really impressive, and still is, I think, comparably in the current market climates. And of course, Coach X there's got the fact that you've done like 2 million transactions with the pTGC so far, maximizing out that ARB opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, our chart, I think it was a few months ago, was looking really, really good. Obviously, most of that's just because that's the exact time Pulsechain was up, and Hart's Law actually tugged pTGC and pTGC up to those high levels. So that's a lot of things people don't realize is when Pulsechain goes up, it's going to suck us up many X's for multiple reasons. One, because when Pulsechain is higher, volume is higher, because as Pulsechain goes higher, liquidity pools get bigger, and then our bots can move more money along with people because prices are higher, which overall just makes more volume on chain, and then also people's sentiment is usually stronger as well. They're not down in the dumps like they are right now. But on top of that, it's dragging the price of pTGC up or UFO up as well. And this happens in a negative way too. So I always like to switch the chart to against PLS instead of against the dollar. And you can actually see how your project is performing against PLS instead of getting manipulated by PLS as PLS drags us up and down. Obviously, we want PLS to drag us up in the long term, but in the short term, all we can do as founders or community members is keep trying to build and add to our protocols against PLS until PLS does start to move.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like you got the magic put together there really nicely, and you got in pretty early on that as well. I just think, everything you guys have done has been pretty professional as well. So could you give a bit of background behind who's in the team that's sort of set up pTGC and UFO?
Yeah. So as far as the core team that initially like started working on the smart contracts and stuff like that, we have three founders to the protocol, and one of our founders was able to, because he works in the tech industry, outsource these devs, and we've been working with these devs, I think, for a total of 2.5 years now. So the founders, we have three people that kind of came up with the tokenomics of this protocol. And then we have a team of devs that obviously write the smart contracts for us and then send this stuff to auditors and whatnot. But then we also have other team members that weren't so much a part of the build, but were part of the launch as far as adding liquidity, looking at other projects as well, to make sure that we're bonding ourselves with the right protocols. Because that's like one of the big things is when we create these webs, you want to make sure you're creating the web with the best tokens. Because if those tokens go up, they bring you up with it. If you bond yourself to tokens that are dying, they're going to suck you down as well.
Right. So do you have some well-known names? I think we've got Coach Hex in there in the chat.
Coach, I think I saw chatting in there. He was one of the guys that before launch, we actually only live like 10 minutes from each other, and we met each other in a Spaces call just on Twitter, which is funny. So we met each other in a Spaces call, and we found out we're 10 minutes from each other, and we just got to know each other as friends outside of crypto. And, you know, he introduced me to the whole PDI thing in Atropa and told me what was going on there. And then when I started kind of working out the ideas of this web, he was one of the first people I went to with the idea. He confirmed that he thought it was a great idea and it was going to work. So he was already involved in the protocol before it was even launched, making himself pretty much part of the team, if he likes it or not, forever.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. All right, great. Any other well-known names out there that people would be recognized in the team at all, or just associated in any way?
Yeah, not really. Like myself, when I was building this, people don't even really realize this, but I probably only had like 20 followers on Twitter just because I wasn't like a big Twitter person. And then the other founders still aren't even really active on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's just not really a place they are, even though they're like in Hex and stuff like that. They just don't really find themselves in that area where they are talking and interacting with the community on social media, really.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that, because obviously that I cover the markets every day on Pulsechain, and, pTGC UFO have been always up there in the top, ones that pop up all the time, as performing pretty well. So congratulations to you and your team there. Should we check out your website and have a look at that?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Let's get into that. Remember, if you've got any questions, folks, get them in the chat there as well. It's really great to have the alien greys in the house, as it were. So let's should go to the website here. We'll go to the top at the homepage. We're on homepage here. So yeah, you've got these cool marketing graphics, which I think fantastic. So hats off to you guys for going the extra mile there.
Yeah, that's like, one of the things that sometimes people love is just it's a fun narrative, and they kind of don't even look at, the tech behind it and the utility, and they're just like, oh, it's got a cool theme to it. I like it for that. So I think, everyone kind of imagines about aliens at some point in their life. So it's a fun narrative to play off of.
Yeah. I love sci-fi, so this captures my attention as well. So it's pretty cool to see. And we've actually probably got 2 or 3 projects on the Pulsechain using aliens. I think I really like your dark version of it. It's kind of cool. Now we've also got a couple of things on here. I don't know if you can see the website yourself, so I might have to talk through it a little bit. But you got about the Grays currency details there, and you've got this fee system buying and selling. So could you go a bit through the tokenomics here? We've got the burn, the liquidity, the DAO, the holder and stake reflection, and the staker reflection. Are you able to go through that?
Yeah. So I'll kind of start with like what our reasoning was by these specific tokenomics. So like when I was kind of building the tokenomics of this protocol, one of the things I paid attention to is I looked at let's say 100 different tokens. And I kind of looked at each one and I was like, why did this token succeed? And what was its failing point? Like, because most tokens that do come out, even if they do succeed, there's always a point where they do start to fail. So I wanted to look at a bunch of different protocols and see what made this protocol a winner and then what made this protocol actually turn down. And one thing I found with these reflection tokens and stuff like that is obviously the main thing is it loses volume. So that's why this web idea was such a aha moment, is when we created this web, we eliminated the fact for any buyers, and the web just buys and sells it all day, creating volume just off of what's there. But so as far as the fee structure is, what we noticed is with a reflection token, if you're constantly just giving out reflections and you're not actually supporting the underlying value of the project with paying out reflections, those reflections actually end up constantly being sell pressure on the chart over the long term. So with our protocol, 2% of the 5% is going to rewards and reflections to stakers and holders. But then on top of that, we have the 0.5% that's going to buy and burn, 0.5% that's auto LP, and then 2% is going to the DAO. And what the majority of that DAO is putting those funds into is buy and burns and LP ads. Okay. So what this actually what this creates is, with every single transaction, even though 2% of the transaction is paying people reflections and rewards, so pretty much paying them yield, 3% is going into PLS, technically into the LP pool. And what that creates is a system that even if everyone sold all their yield every day, there is more PLS going into the LP pool to support the yield getting paid out.
Fantastic.
So let's say just even a token that has inflation or just a standard reflection token, if you don't have any real value supporting the yield you're paying out, that yield is constantly going to get extracted from the chart. So what we found is, if we're paying out 2%, we want 2 to 3% constantly going back into that LP pool, making it so every single reflection or yield that's paid out has backing PLS to support the chart, so that yield can be taken out by holders. And people are in crypto to make money, so we want to make sure that they have funds to take that yield out into, but it's not necessarily just destroying the chart. And there's just always going to be more backing to it. So that's what the design was for. The DAO is nice because as crypto moves, it's good to be able to adjust. And we wanted to do that in a decentralized and automated manner, but then also be able to pivot. So like for the first few months, we were adding a lot of LP with PLS, but what we are doing more recently is we've been adding to PLSX, because what we found is PLSX has actually been more recently outperforming PLS. Yep. So it makes sense for us to now focus our energy in bolstering up that pair, because it's been performing better. And if it keeps performing better, due to Hart's Law, we're going to get more X's from that pool than the PLS pool.
Yeah, absolutely. So very, very good move there. We've got a couple comments here. We've got Shaka says, show me a project anywhere that has a better market cap to liquidity ratio than pTGC or UFO. And Coach Extra Suppliers there. Shaka, nowhere. Haha. So nice comments there. We've got the Prairie Banana announced. Yeah, good to see you, Prairie. Watch your content sometimes. So big shout out. pTGC is the checkmate of the Pulse network. How about that? It's pretty cool. Nice one. All right. Wookie says has seen many UFOs and had drinks with all kinds of aliens. I bet you have, Wookie. I bet you have. All right, let's get back into the website here. So you've also got holder stake reflections and stake reflections on that 5%.
Yeah. So how we did our staking mechanism a little bit different than most other projects. Mm-hmm. I'll kind of go into that. So when you are holding, you're earning holding reflections, but when you're staking in the protocol, you're actually earning your holding reflections and your staking reflections. So you're actually getting a little bit more than twice the amount if you decide to stake, because you're double dipping. You're getting both of those. And it's a little bit more because not everyone is staking. So it's a smaller pool that you're sharing that 1% within. But one thing that we actually did differently with our protocol than most other protocols out there is when you stake with pTGC, the tokens actually remain in your wallet. You just can't sell them until you unstake. And why we thought this was important was, and most projects don't even think of this or care to think of this, is most projects send your tokens to a smart contract and lock them in there when they're staking it. But what that does is now that takes away the custody from all the users, and you have now put everyone's tokens in one smart contract. And that creates a scenario where a hacker now sees everyone's money sitting in this one location, and he only needs to hack this one smart contract to get everyone's money. So our way we solved this solution, Richard Hart solved the solution by burning and then reminting. So when you stake with Hex, it burns the tokens, and then when you are, you finalize your time, you actually get reminted your Hex. Well, we did it a little bit differently, but still a way that isn't locking the tokens in a smart contract, creating a place where a hacker sees all this money in one location. And that's one of the most important things about pTGC, in my opinion, is you can have all the awesome tokenomics and stuff like that, but if you're putting people's funds at risk, or if you get those funds stolen, all the X's they make don't matter. It's just someone that just got taken from them. So
that's true. That's a really good approach to use for that. I see that you got the stats here on the stats page for staking. You've got total GGC stake now at 210 billion TGC. And we've got total TGC locked at 126 billion at the moment. So I guess if you had connected your wallet and you'd had participated in the staking, you would see your TGC earned, etc. So if you were locked, all these numbers would have not. If you had connected your wallet and had staking, then you'd be able to see all these numbers for yourself, what you're earning and things like that. Now I think we had a comment here from Prairie saying PDC could literally never be sold by a human, and the bots carry it across the finish line. That's from Prairie. So a nice little insight there.
So I guess something on this page, I guess another thing that a lot of people get confused about, because obviously a lot of the people in this project are people in Hex, so they like relate a lot of the ideas back to Hex, and this is another thing they get confused about. With our staking platform, there's no time locks, so it's completely liquid. The one thing that when you do decide to unstake, it's a 1% fee no matter what. And that 1% fee goes back to all the other stakers that are still staking. But we do have a section to, if you decide you want to delay gratification, or you're going to be in the protocol for a while, you can lock your tokens and earn additional rewards. But the only way you earn more rewards there is if people make time locks and they don't fulfill their time locks. When they end their time lock early, 30% of the tokens they locked get sent to all other lockers. And that's it, right?
All right, cool. Now we've got what have we got here? We've got the DAO. I'm on the DAO page now. Have you say in the future of the Grays ecosystem? So you do have the DAO anchoring it. You got available funds for the DAO at 97 million pulse at the moment. Could you tell us a little bit about this? You got some obviously proposals down the bottom that people are voting for.
Yeah. So the top 100 stakers of pTGC get to create proposals for the DAO. Any staker can vote in the DAO. The amount of tokens you have is pretty much your voting weight, and you can only vote one time on each proposal. If the proposal gets a 65% win rate based on everyone voting on it, it gets passed, and those funds that we requested automatically get sent to the person that requested those funds. And like I said, really, since the top 100 believe in the protocol and they want to see the protocol withstand the length of time, pretty much not every single proposal has been carried out, and it's majority just adding to liquidity pairs and burning them, or buy and burns of pTGC itself. what we found is with a lot of other DAOs, and I'm going to throw one DAO out there, and I studied this DAO when designing this, so that's kind of why I'm going to throw it out there, is Cult DAO. I don't know if you heard of it. It had a huge run-up.
Yep, heard of Cult DAO.
One thing I thought was strange, and I kind of found is their flaw, is they took all this money that they were making in their fee that was going to the DAO, and they were investing that money into other projects. And what I honestly believed is if they just took that money and invested it into their own protocol, they would actually have a lot better looking chart right about now. Because majority of the stuff they invested in fail. And that's just crypto for you. So what I found and what our community has found been the best bet for us is to just continue investing in our own protocol and tying LP with blue chips of Pulsechain, like all the RH tickers, for an example. And that's been working quite well for us because there's no reason to invest in other products if you believe in the product you have in front of you, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you guys have put together a bit of the holy grail, to be honest. I think there's kind of all the right things are being done to promote the value of this project. Is pretty clear. So well done to your foresight there. You've also got some stuff here. You got game as well, the Grays game. Decentralized automated raffle that pays winners rewards in pTGC. Very liquid pulse-backed token. So what's the idea behind that? Just to create a bit of extra economic energy?
Yeah, it's pretty much just a fun way for some people to play on the Pulsechain blockchain that's not based on just another token. So it's just a fully decentralized and automated game built on Pulsechain where you can get raffle tickets with your Pulsechain. I think it costs like a penny or something, or 10 cents. I forget off the top of my head. But so you can get a raffle ticket, and when you buy the raffle ticket, it gets put into a pot. And every 3 days, the ticker runs out, and the smart contract will automatically pick a ticket number and send half of whatever that pot is. It will buy up pTGC, and it will send half the funds to that random ticket winner, whatever wallet that was. And then it will buy and burn the other half in pTGC. So it's a fun way to have people possibly win some pTGC on a really small amount if they just get one ticket and they win. And also an additional way to help buy and burn the protocol's supply, constantly adding PLS into the liquidity pools and taking pTGC off the market.
Cool, I see that. I see you've had this doesn't seem to be around on at the moment, but the price is 10,000 pulse. Or do you just need to be connected to the site and it shows up the ticker, like countdown for the game?
Yeah, so there might not be around. So the way the game starts back up is as soon as someone gets the first ticket, that starts the game, and then it goes for 3 days. So if someone hasn't started the game yet, it might just because you're not connected, though. There might be a running game right now. But maybe it's not even started at the moment, and it needs someone to get a ticket.
Yeah. I see that some of the past winners the top ones won 350,000 pTGC, or TGC, I should say. The second one won 63 million. And the third one there won 55 million TGC. So some past rounds there.
Yeah, cool. Sometimes we get the games moving a little bit more lively. We'll take like a little bit of the DAO funds and push them into the game, which then creates a bigger pot, which then incentivizes people to get a raffle ticket and participate.
Yeah, I think that's a fun way of adding a bit of economic energy and a bit of reward potentially for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've also got the next page is TGC stats. It's got some supply and burning going on. Burning looks pretty good. Like burning chart looks really nice. So that's going on pretty well. And you also got a breakdown of your token, I guess. Staked only, staked and locked, burned, liquidity pool, and held. So that's looking pretty good. Looks like 10.6% has been burned so far, which is in the orange there. Liquidity pool, what's it got? 5.8% held at the moment is 20%. I guess that's just liquid held. 20%.
Yep, that's just someone just holding it in their wallet. Yep.
You got staked only at 25% in blue, and you've got was it 38% staked and locked. So that's pretty good, isn't it? What's that? 50, 63, over 63%. So it's almost 2 out of 3 tokens staked or locked away, which is pretty good. And plus the LP pool, one could argue, and of course the burn. So Held is only down at 20%, 1 and 5. Not bad.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about it is so there's a lot of the liquid supply gets taken off the market, which leaves obviously like under 20% right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps with keeping the price up over the long term, because then that just takes parts of the sell pressure off the market, because people decide that it makes more sense for them to stake it and earn yield than just holding it in their wallet and whatnot, which helps price go up. And then with other protocols, when they do that, it prints out inflation. So eventually a negative externality comes out later down the line. But luckily with pTGC, since we have a max supply and it's deflationary, while everyone's doing that, they can actually sit comfy knowing that with every single transaction, the supply gets less and less, and then they're receiving more and more. So as the protocol is doing its thing, you can know that with every transaction, less of the supply and more is landing in your wallet, creating a scenario where there's less, supply and demand. You get more, the world gets less, so that makes price go up because there's less of it on the market ultimately.
Right. And all that ARB is ARB bots is a bit built into the smart contracts, or is it? Are you guys running it centrally to some degree?
Are you saying are the ARB bots part of our smart contract? Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
how's the ARB working? That's adding that underpinning value in the pTGC protocol.
So all the ARB bots that we utilize are the ARB bots that have been put in place since the launch of Pulsechain.
Okay.
So it's still in question if this is an outside entity running these ARB bots, like a sub company that obviously RH made connections with, or if it's part of the developers or Pulsechain, or if it's RH's ARB bots that he obviously connected with someone and put on here himself. But so we don't know whose they are, but they've been here since the first day of Pulsechain.
Okay.
So we're utilizing what's already on this blockchain to bring that value, to us.
Okay, great. We've got a couple of comments in the chat here before we continue on with some of this, the website, reviewing the website here. Got the Prairie Banana. We're probably getting up to the price pretty soon. pTGC is in a great buy zone compared to when I onboarded, says Perry. My buddy asked why he still had the tokens in his wallet after staking. It's normal over here. Let's see here. What else we got? Perry says, I love the staking because when I have sizable yield, I just add it to my stake to compound it. Yeah, it's a good way to play it. Right, what else there? I think that's it on that one. All right, let's get back to the website and keep continuing on with that. So I see we've got the Grace currency here. We've got the market price at quadruple 0207. So that's where it's at the moment. We've got market cap at 6.1 million at the moment. And the hold is 6,324, which is really good. How have you found the growth of holders from your point of view since you've been monitoring this since the beginning?
Yeah, I think Pulsechain in general has a cap of amount of people that are actually even active buying and trading on Pulsechain.
11,000 a day or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like we obviously have more people we can tap into and keep educating. But I definitely feel like as, let's say we're getting over like half of the daily users, it's getting a little bit more difficult to keep adding new users because there's just not a quantity of new users coming in to the ecosystem. Yeah. My belief on it is just keep educating and keep doing buy and burns and doing LP ads at these levels. And it's kind of like building a business in a city before it's a poppin' city. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's kind of, you get the business set up, you get going, and then once the users flow into the new city or the people flow into the new city, you're already ready for business. So that's kind of the idea here. I think right now, Pulsechain just in general is circulating the same holders throughout every project that launches on Pulsechain. And that's not necessarily good because it's just, we're all just handing money back and forth to each other. You know, you make a couple X's here, but then you lose it here. That's sadly what's just been happening recently. So I think we need some green candles. I think would definitely help. But in the meantime, you know, we're doing what we can to get new users onto the Pulsechain network in general and keep onboarding new people to be new holders as well.
Yeah. Okay. I see you got stakers at 1384. So it's sitting in around about 22% of your holders at the moment. So I think that's pretty good. Total value locked $2.6 million. Circulating supply 297 billion. Stake supply 210. So it's very high. And burned supply 35 billion so far. So do you guys have some predictions about the burn supply? Like over a 12-month period or something like that? Do you have any expectations with it?
If you scroll up, I think on this page.
Yeah.
So right there.
That's the chart. Yeah.
Yeah. So right now we're at 10.6, and if we follow just based on the math of what we've burnt since our inception date, in the next 6 months we should be roughly at 18%. This is a little bit dependent on. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot of variables that can come into play. If Pulsechain gains some volume here soon, that should help increase it. If price skyrockets on Pulse, that technically would, or even pTGC in general, that makes it so you're burning a less percentage, but you're burning more value. So a lot of those variables come in play, but just based on math and where we're at, that's our trajectory for the next 6 months.
Yeah. I got to be pretty bullish on that myself. I think that looks pretty good. And the chart, certainly the burn TGC chart looks great. So looks like got all the right things happening there.
Yeah, that chart's kind of fun because people always look at price chart, but there's like so many more metrics in crypto that you need to be looking at. And obviously that's a nice one because it's just always going up and to the right, but that's just showing that, hey, every single day.
Well, it means it's working. It means that your system's working, and it's working very well from the looks of it. And the one thing I'd say is that it's really great that you guys got that projected burn in 6 months too. It's really you guys adding that extra information to people to help them with making decisions about the project. Pretty cool. Now, I'm just going to quickly look at the chart here. So this is the pTGC chart versus Pulse. And I've got it here versus US dollars. Of course, you probably want me to flip the Pulse there, but at the moment it's quadruple 0221, 4 zeros, 2001, or 2100, sorry. And yeah, it looks like it peaked out, 0001 at the top there back in March. It's got these little waves down, just following Pulse down, I guess. Is that how you see this chart?
Yeah, that's if you track Pulse from its top to its bottom, we've pretty much decreased the exact same amount just due to Pulse coming down, because ultimately all LP pools are just based on ratios. So if one Pulse is equal 1 pTGC, for an example, and Pulse goes from $2 to $1, well, automatically just based on the ratios, then pTGC becomes $2 to $1 because 1 is 1. So that's how all LP pools work. So wherever the dog goes, the tail goes. And obviously we'll try to outperform that, which if you switch to the US versus PLS chart, you can see that we've continuously done pretty well with outperforming Pulse. But currently right now we've been hopping back and forth in a range trying to fight the resistance. I think that just comes because we've been swimming upstream for so long. So naturally, when you swim upstream for 8 months, you need a little bit of time to cool off, regain your strength, so you can push again to the next level. I think that's kind of the range we're in currently.
Okay, cool. I mean, you weren't too far away from getting to 1-to-1 too, so it's not too bad.
We're working towards it a little bit every day.
All right, very cool. So if you guys want to check out pTGC, I'll post the chart in the chat there. If you want to pick some up, remember always do your due diligence. Although we are having a nice cool AMA here. So pTGC chart. This is on Pulsechain, of course. Bam, there it is there. So you can pick up some today. Definitely being one of the leading project teams on the Pulsechain, in my view. And obviously you can see he's got all the secret sauce together with the RBots underpinning the value of the ecosystem. So pretty cool, exciting project. And of course, I think some of the best artwork, etc., to keep people engaged as well. Let me just go back to the website here. So we've also got a secondary token, UFO, as well. And you guys started this up not too long ago. Is that right?
Yeah, that one's only, I believe, 2 months old currently.
Months old, yeah. And what's the idea behind having a secondary token here in relation to the primary token pTGC, for example?
Yeah, so when pTGC was created, it was ultimately based off an idea that I created that never had really been done before in crypto. Like I said, there's no other blockchain where this has ever happened or, in my opinion, might ever happen. So this is kind of new tech that's never been done. So the ideas that I created, I've never actually tested in real scenarios. I did the math and it all worked out, but I didn't know if it was going to work. And once it was created, it actually worked better than I expected. And where I noticed the most value was coming from was from the system that required no human interaction. And that's the liquidity web with the RBots. So UFO was created off that idea that in crypto, that was the guarantee, that was the thing that wouldn't change, and we didn't have to be dependent on variables that we couldn't control. People, we can't control people. But if we can create math-based equations and like liquidity that isn't going to be taken away, that creates scenarios that we can actually control, which is good, because then we can better the protocol without having people being able to affect it and whatnot. And obviously they can affect it positively by buying it. But we wanted to create a scenario that ultimately could still go up and to the right without having any human interaction. So when we noticed that the liquidity web was our strong tool that was bringing in tons of value to the protocol, we realized that we could actually have people add to this liquidity web. And as they add to the liquidity web, they can actually earn their own yield by putting their own tokens to work. And this is actually pretty awesome in my opinion, because we actually found a way to build a farming protocol. But with a normal farming protocol, like let's say on PulseX, where you put in your PLS and PLSX and it pays you out in ink. Well, ink is an inflationary token. So they're constantly creating more ink to pay out that yield, and that's how they pay you your yield. But what we found is when we create a token with a fee structure and then we incentivize people to create the web on their own, they actually are now earning all their own rewards, and we can pay those rewards out in anything we want. We don't have to inflate the price of anything. So what we created the smart contract to do is everyone is now getting paid in PLS. So when you participate in this yield farm, ultimately, you are latching UFO with any of your RH tokens, and it's adding to the web. And every user is actually earning their own yield for the most part, because they're putting their tokens to work for you. And that's like one of the most basic business things ever. Like everyone says, like, as you make money, you want to not work for money, you want your money to work for you. So what we found is everyone on Pulsechain can now have their money work for them by creating this web structure and having a fee that does so. And then when they add to the web, it obviously pays them in the PLS. And then at the same time, it's buying and burning the UFO supply, buying and burning the pTGC supply, paying out rewards. It's just everyone wins. It just turns into a money printer ultimately.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I like that. It's really pretty good. So yeah, 6% buy fee, 6% sell fee, and you've got here the allocation distribution showing 3% reward to UFO LP providers, for the following pools. That's where they provide their LP. You got 1% rewarded to holders of the UFO token. Listed 1% utilized to buy and burn the UFO token, and then 1% are used to buy and burn the pTGC token there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and so since that protocol is so new,
yeah.
that one only has like 2,000 holders compared to like pTGC 6,000, and it already has more liquidity and a bigger web than pTGC itself. Because and ultimately what's that creating is UFO has been outperforming the volume daily just from our bots. It's pretty much performing twice as much volume than pTGC is currently because of the liquidity web being that much bigger, because we're incentivizing people to add to it. And over the long term, this actually helps quite a bit, because if there's less holders, that means ultimately we have a smaller market cap, but the liquidity is so much bigger. And
it's nice.
that equals really good APR and reflections for the holders of it, because with a normal token, the liquidity amount is kind of an iffy subject, because they say the more liquidity you have, it's harder to do X's and whatnot. But with these kind of protocols, it actually works extremely differently, because with the liquidity web, that liquidity web is actually making your protocol money. In a normal token, your liquidity isn't making you any money. It's just sitting there waiting for people to buy and sell into. So the bigger we actually make our web, the more money we actually can make. And I'm going to give like a basic example right now is, right now we have like $2 million in liquidity with UFO, and it's only at like a $2.5 million market cap. So majority of just all the value is backed by RH blue chips. But let's say Pulsechain in general, the ecosystem does a 10x. Well, now our liquidity pools, instead of being worth 2 million, will be worth 20 million. Today we had roughly $60,000 in volume. Well, since the majority of our volume comes from arbitrage bots, the volume will also increase with the liquidity pool. So with a 10x of the Pulsechain ecosystem, or UFO doing a 10x, our liquidity pools will 10x. So then that in turn is going to 10x the volume of the protocol. So now we will be operating at, let's say, it would be like $500,000 a day of daily volume just from arbitrage bots, no needed human interaction. Right. So then in turn, we are now buying and burning pTGC and UFO at 10x the rate, because now we have 10x the volume, and now we're paying out 10 times the yield. So if right now we're paying, let's say, 10% APY, but just from a simple 10x in ecosystem growth, we are now paying out 100% APY, and it's based on zero inflation and just based on this. So now people are earning really good yield with no inflating of the price. And this is only a 10x of Pulsechain. Let's say Pulsechain does a 50x. That same math works. And it now creates a scenario where with every X the ecosystem or the token does, the protocol gets that much stronger and operates that much better.
Fantastic. Sounds pretty awesome. What did they say? You had me at hello. They say you had me at hello. Now, I also noticed that you've also got, I think we've covered the tokenomics pretty well. I have posted the PDC UFO on X. So if you guys want to find out more information, keep up with the social medias and for pTGC and UFO, then that is the X profile to follow, Pulse TGC. So give them a follow, and you'll get all the latest from them moving forward. Shaka says people just need to spend time to understand it. Once they do, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, definitely. Now you guys have also got a merch store, which I think is pretty cool. I thought we would talk a bit about that, because I think you got such a wonderful brand with the alien, and of course with the tokenomics. Now, what made you guys do this? Was it early on? How's it been going with the store and the merch? People wearing on the live streams and things like that?
So that's like, I'd say one of the things I don't have my hands in is that merch store. That's one of the other founders. I know a couple things have sold here or there. I really think once the whole entire Pulsechain ecosystem starts to take off and stuff like that, there will probably be a lot more sales. But in general, I think people wear alien stuff even without attached to a cryptocurrency. So once you mix the two together, I
that's
think,
kind of a winning brand. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I like it. So that's pretty cool. All right, so that's kind of the website. I think we've gone through a lot of the website there, which is pretty good, laid out pretty well. Is there any other things that you want to talk about in terms of key takeaways for people?
Yeah, I guess one thing I didn't touch base on with UFO, another decently cool feature with it is since majority of people are putting their tokens to work for them via LP providing,
Yeah.
some people don't necessarily like LP providing, and UFO gives reflections to the holders of UFO, which actually makes really good yield just for holders as well. Because if people are providing LP, they're no longer getting that 1% reflection to the holders. So it's a very, very small pot that you actually have to share that yield with. So it actually creates a good scenario for people who don't like providing LP either, and you just want to help hold up the price and earn yield because you got tons of people working on the back end with their finances, obviously earning more yield than you because they're putting up a little bit more, but you're earning quite well just by holding as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, look, I think you got everything in it, and really does, like, you've really solved a lot of the value to reflection token system, and so it really is a standout project from that point of view, especially for people just long term in the game on crypto. So well done to your team for getting onto that concept and pulling it all together. It really is exciting to see it, and of course because I cover the markets virtually every day. You guys, like I say at the beginning of the live stream, you guys keep popping up at the top there, and the chart is definitely one of the better charts in the Pulsechain. So well done to you guys. And of course, I always love the marketing. Always come onto your site. Now, I just want to talk about one thing. I did see someone tried to duplicate your project. Was it what are they called? Do you remember? Someone tried to.
Yeah, I won't name it, but yes,
that's out there. Yeah, so you do get, that's a flattery, right? Getting copied is flattery, I guess.
It's kind of flattery. The sad part about it is when someone copies something like that, it's a form of flattery, but like if someone can't even come up with their own concept and their own ideas, like I'll be honest with you, I've spent the last like 4 years of my life like dedicating every extra second to building this and putting tons of my own economic energy even creating it. And when someone goes to copy it, they haven't actually put any of that hard effort in to come up with the idea. It's usually the ultimate sign of a scam for the most part.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I don't even think that project was a scam. They just didn't understand the smart contracts. And since they didn't understand how the smart contracts worked, they twisted a few of the tokenomics to where it benefited them personally instead of it being decentralized. And when they messed with the smart contracts, it actually broke the smart contracts. And what that in turn did is it just wrecked a bunch of people and lost a bunch of people's money.
Yeah.
Which is just sad because I've spent so much time in trying to save people's money, and I've like spent nights in, nights out trying to think through every scenario to make these safe protocols. And then these people try to trick them and say, oh, this is just like the first one. Oh my God, this is your second chance. And it's just like, well, you just screwed all these people over, and that's obviously value that could have been with us, but now you just took it or lost it, and that's not good. So
well, it's funny. So for everybody out there, it's best to stick with the OG, the original. With all
it always is. Every copycat that's ever came out ever never does as good as the OG.
Yeah. But I mean, Pulsechain has tokens popping up every day and copies of this and that. So I mean, it is out there. It's always best to stick with the original. Everybody, do your due diligence, of course, and all that good stuff. But I remember I saw your project right at the beginning when it first launched, and I was talking about it in our Discord, and then the chart started doing some pretty amazing things, and I think long term looks set up for some really great performance. So fantastic. Hey, Hayden, I really appreciate having you on. I posted the link to the website at the top of the chat there, so you guys can go hit that. And of course, you can also follow the X profile there for all the latest. There's you're a pretty active team, right? So you'll get lots of.
I'm in that TG pretty much all day, every day. I try to answer questions as quick as I can. Coach does a live stream every morning at 6:30 Pacific Standard. He answers questions on the fly right there. I try to be as active as I can with working a full-time job and having a 1-year-old. So.
Yeah, well done, well done. Hey, look, given where Pulsechain is at the moment and where it could go in the future, this project is really set. Not only is it doing well now, but really set to fly in the future on the back of that. So well done.
All right, let me finish with this real quick. In pTGC and UFO are both volume and volatility based protocols. Since the launch of pTGC and UFO, Pulsechain has horrible volume and volatility. It's absolutely been sitting in a horrible situation, but we have completely created an amazing protocol that's thriving in a horrible environment for a volume and volatility based protocol. So if we're thriving right now, just wait until the volume and volatility picks up. And that's like, when you really think about it, it actually gets scary. If we can print a chart like this with volume and volatility poor, with a protocol that thrives on volume and volatility, that shows you how strong we can be when volume and volatility and price appreciation actually comes to this blockchain.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful place to end the show. And I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to come on. And big shout out to everybody in your community. We see quite a few people in the chat there as well. So are the alien greys taking over Pulsechain? Or maybe you might be one of those aliens. So get out there, folks, and check it out. And a big shout out to Hayden here. I really appreciate you coming on. And hit me up another time in the future. And we'll have you back on again. All right. Bye, everybody. Take care and enjoy yourself. And I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.